Welcome to this webinar hosted by the Eastern India Alliance Leadership Academy. Today's topic, leadership training, team building activities, and bringing you these activities and talking about the need for these activities is a panel absolutely brilliant, a panel ready with your answers, ready with ideas so that you can make your leadership training meaningful. But before we go on to this topic and to the webinar, I would invite past International Director AP Singh to speak a little about the Eastern India Lions Leadership Academy.
Good morning, good evening, and a good day to everybody, depending on which part of the world you are. Eastern India Lions Leadership Academy is an initiative of the Lions from Multiple District 322 and specifically intended to provide a platform to the Lions of the world to have conversations among themselves. All resources on our website are the resources that have been contributed by the Lions from different parts of the world. So it's Lions sharing their own experience, Lions sharing their own knowledge, Lions sharing their own success stories, and Lions sharing with each other so that we can all learn through the experiences of the others. That's what gives us a great opportunity in this world. Technology makes it possible today for us located in different continents of the world to be discussing and to be spending an hour together on this webinar. All recordings of our webinar are also made available at our website. In addition, there are maybe more than 150 to 200 of our PowerPoints there. There are discussions, there are discussion notes, a few ebooks, a few videos, and a host of other resources that we put up on the website. And we could always enhance the resources on the website provided we continue to get the supply of the resources from the Lions from different parts. So friends, let's go ahead with this webinar on the topic leadership training, team building activities. And this is something which is very important because we do get Lions to our training programs, but having them stay glued to those training programs and having something that keeps on attracting them to come to those leadership training programs, that's very important. So it's not only about the deliberations, but it's about the discussions and the way those deliberations are conducted. That's what really holds the key. And we have a panel of 4 experts today who shall be sharing their experiences and their ideas with us. So over to you, PID Sangeeta.
Thank you, PID AP Singh. Today's speakers are past International Director Bruce Beck. Bruce has just off the board and now he's ready to share his experience with us. We have with us past International Director Robert Littlefield, who is going to be leading the DGE seminar for the year 2019-20, a distinguished Lion himself. We have Lion John Montgomery, who leads the leadership division at LCI at Oakbrook, and he himself has been a great trainer and also a great facilitator. We have the GLT area leader, Lion Jema Wall, who has been involved in training programs for years. And this shows you don't need a title to become a trainer. All that you need is a will to go ahead. So we will move on with, and I'm going to pass it on to John, who is going to be the first speaker for this webinar.
Past Director Sangeeta, Past Director AP, thank you very much for this wonderful introduction, and thank you for the Eastern India Lions Leadership Academy for this invitation. As you mentioned, Sangeeta, I'm honored to be speaking today with distinguished panelists, and I hope to be able to share a little bit of the perspective of why team building activities are so vital to the engagement that Past Director AP mentioned. And I want to share a little bit about why they are so effective in helping individuals learn and really help the team formation begin to take place. And why that is really comes a lot from adult learning theory, which really supports the activities that we put in place. And so I want to just briefly share a little bit of the why, the rationale of why these activities, and especially team building activities, are so effective. And in large part, they have to deal with how we shift from children to young adults to adults in how we prefer to learn or how we need to learn. And as children or young adults along that spectrum, we often need to be more directed and be given more information prior to exploration, attempting to use those skills and knowledge. However, as adults, we do need to be provided information as well. But we find the need to use that information more quickly in our learning to heighten as an adult. The need to practice the skill as quickly as possible, preferably during the learning itself, becomes something that really is such a burning need. It becomes something that we begin to expect in our learning for it to be useful and impactful. And so, in a way, if you look at it, we have these characteristics as an adult learner that need to be addressed for, I guess I would say, more optimal impact, more effective knowledge transfer, more capable skills to be developed. It's not that nothing happens if we don't do this, but it is often a much reduced percentage. But when it's more active, the knowledge and skill transfer is much higher, because as an adult learner, we really feel this need to be self-directed as much as we can, as much as we respect and appreciate the expertise and the knowledge of our facilitators. We really want to be having this role ourselves in our own learning. We do seek out these experts so that we have the sense that what we're engaging in and the knowledge when it is being transferred and when the facilitator is managing the class, that we respect those experts. So they do need to be credible and knowledgeable, but we're also hopeful that they're setting up an atmosphere where we can learn by doing. As adults, we prefer to be as actively involved in the learning as our facilitators will allow, as the design will have built in. And that's one of the reasons for this call today, is to really talk about how these activities and team building activities need to be designed so that they're integral and a part of the learning. And the other thing that it really facilitates when these activities are in place is it meets another characteristic we have as an adult learning, which is our need and desire to share our experience. That's something we begin to feel as adults as an integral part of it. But it's also knowing that in addition to the facilitator and the trainer, there is knowledge to be gained from our peers. And these activities really provide that opportunity for the peer exchange to be woven in. In a way, it really is masterful for the facilitator and the trainer to realize that there is so much knowledge in that room in addition to the knowledge they bring, so these activities can really draw upon that. And then it also allows for different styles to be in place. By learning styles, we're referring to auditory learning, kinesthetic learning, visual learning. These activities are often multisensory, and so it adds to what each individual might prefer as the mode for delivery. And lastly, it gives feedback in an active atmosphere where there's things to accomplish or tasks or team building activities. We get very instant feedback from the experience from others, but it also allows the facilitator to wrap up and provide individual and collective feedback on how we can improve. So there's going to be more details from the other panelists about various strategies and a lot of specific ideas to come your way, but I'll briefly cover strategies in an overview fashion to say that if you really were wanting to draw upon these characteristics, you might try these in general. So for self-directed characteristic of a learner, really make sure your objectives are clear and clearly stated so that the learners know that by participating in these activities, these benefits will occur. Don't leave that just inherent to assumption. It's often good to state it somewhere in the beginning, first 5 to 10 minutes, so that as an adult learner, I know what I'm going to get out of this. The other thing is, when we're the experts in the room, make sure that they know that we're going to be conveying knowledge as the facilitators, but we also are going to be asking questions to really draw them out. So when you're thinking of your questions, Doing some questioning on the fly is good, but also anticipate in your preparation what questions might really trigger and trigger something in the minds of the others and get the most out of them. And from the learning by doing, make sure that you use these team building activities that are going to be shared today so that it can generate the workshop atmosphere and the discussions that'll be so fruitful for the learners. In addition, when you look at the characteristics for sharing, really make sure in your design that you have places where you will solicit their input and that their experiences will really come out. Don't leave that to chance. And lastly, on the last 2 points, really make sure that you're drawing upon those different learning style preferences, whether they're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and really make sure that you have the opportunity in your workshops as much as possible for the learners to demonstrate their learning and for you to provide feedback. And so hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the theory and strategies to employ so that you really can see how activities are a great solution for drawing upon all of the characteristics of an adult learner and really reaching mutual satisfaction from both facilitator and the learner's perspective. So even if you don't use every strategy I just mentioned or address every characteristic, by employing some of these examples that you're about to hear from the other panelists, I think you're really going to find that your adult learners really respond very favorable and that the objectives really are met in a very powerful way. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this back over to our moderator and the next presenter, Lion Jama. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
Jema.
John. And I would like to also reiterate and thank Past International Director Sangeeta and Past International Director AP for the invitation to join everyone today. This is quite an opportunity. But now let's move ahead from where John left us and let's consider the types of activities that can engage and reinforce learning for adults and actually build that team spirit. Icebreakers are quick team building activities that engage everyone. They build connections and they set that stage for active learning. To begin a training recently, I used an icebreaker called Share Something We Don't Know. In this activity, participants were asked to share information like their name, their district, their favorite service project, so typical of most introductions, and then something we didn't know. This could be a hobby, a quick story, or even something personal. And this allowed people to feel safe, comfortable, and build that level of trust so that is so important for adults in learning and team building. I used this at a recent second vice district governor training, and this was their first official training as a team. They had all been introduced, and some even knew each other very well, but none of them knew everyone. So this activity opened opportunities for further conversations and trust building, which will make them a stronger team of leaders for our district. As instructors, we could see the connections being made among the participants in their body language, their facial expressions, and their discussions. This simple exercise was definitely a team building block for their future work. Now in the next blue slides, we're going to take a look at some sample team building activities. These are a little more complicated to do, not quite as fast as an icebreaker, and they can be used to develop your team and reinforce topics shared in a learning experience. So let's do repeat. In this activity, you can reinforce learning and build your team. Following a presentation, rather than just asking adult learners to share one thing they've learned, try something different. Everyone has to provide a new concept or idea. Have everyone get in a circle. Yes, get them out of their seats and actively engaged. The first person makes a comment. The second person makes a comment and repeats the first person's comment. This continues until everyone in the circle has shared a comment. The camaraderie is developed as it becomes more challenging to remember that list of items learned. Learning is reinforced with each repeat. If someone has trouble with the sequence, they can always phone a friend, ask for help from the gallery, get help from the group. Next, let's try props. Again, in props, you need to divide the group evenly. Give each group 3 or 4 props, such as hats, household items, small pieces of clothing. Now, ask the group to tell a story with the props that will be presented to the larger group. Give them 5 to 7 minutes to develop the story. All members of the team need to participate. The activity of developing the story builds the team. The work is shared. Presenting the story to others also enhances team development. There is a feeling of, quote, we are in this together, unquote. To engage learning, the story has to be developed about the information that was shared. And now let's take a look at hooping it up. Hooping it up requires participants to be able to move and use their imaginations. If someone has a challenge moving, they could be a judge, a coach, a timer. Divide the participants evenly again. Each team is given 3 hula hoops. The team has 5 to 7 minutes to build an invention. This invention has to move. All participants have to be involved, and all the hula hoops have to be involved. When the inventions are designed, share out. Imagination abounds in this activity, as well as laughs. Usually there's quite a bit of laughter. Discussion questions that follow can identify common hurdles and solutions to these hurdles. This would be a great way for a district governor to begin his or her first cabinet meeting to get the creative ideas flowing. The message is very clear. We are thinking differently, outside of the box, or in this case, the hula hoop. Now, just finally, some thoughts about how to manage this type of activity for adult learning. We have to plan, plan, plan. Time is critical. Stick to your timeline or activities can become boring and sluggish. Keep on track and reduce the sidebar conversations. Space is needed for these types of team building activities. Doing activities in a cramped space diminishes the success. Check out your space prior to the class or meeting. Adjust your activities as you need to. If you can request a larger space in advance when you're making arrangements for your class or your activity, do so. Think it through. Walk through the activity in your mind and in the space if you have the opportunity. Try to anticipate glitches or problems and manage them before they happen. And if you need to use notes to present, do that, but don't stand behind the podium and read the notes. That would deter everything that you'd like to happen. You need to be prepared for the naysayers. Some people aren't comfortable with group activities, and you'll need to have thought out how to engage those people who are reluctant to participate. For team building activities to be successful, everyone has to be involved. And again, consider planning. Be sure that you bring all of your stuff, your items, your pieces that are needed for the activity. Nothing is worse than starting an activity and finding that you're missing a key piece. Lay out your materials for easy accessibility and continuity between activities. And again, if you listened, you heard John use the word facilitate. As the leader in this type of presentation, you need to walk among the group and provide encouragement. You need to be a part of the activity, but don't lead, don't direct. Let the creativity and fun be from the participants. Engagement is really the norm. And you need to celebrate. A group activity should encourage applause, pats on the back, high fives, and smiles. And as the group leader, you make this happen by celebrating. You're the one who does the happy dance or gets everyone else to do the happy dance. And one last thought. By doing a search online, you can find a multitude of icebreakers and team building activities, but not every activity is workable for every team or group. When you pick a team building activity, be sure to consider the experience and needs of the group and their development as a group, where they want to go, because not every activity will work for all groups. Thank you, and I'll pass it on to Pastor National Director Bruce.
Well, I wish to say my thanks to Lions AP and Sangita for having me, and this is a wonderful opportunity to share and for Lions to get together. And I'm going to just take a look at several different key elements that are incorporated into team building. The three key elements that we want in every team building activity is to have honest engagement, and what we're looking at in this is to have a clear cut goal of what we wish the group to accomplish, so everyone's on the same page. And we want it to be a not an easy goal, but we want a goal that's achievable and that they can unite as a team to work together to accomplish. The interaction comes from the team when they have discussions as to how best accomplish the goal in the timed event that it is. And those discussions brings individual perspectives. Each lion can be listened to because everyone brings different skills to the table. And then it's already been mentioned by both John and Jema about the connection that made. The team unifies in this process of working together for the common goal to come up with the best product that they can. Some of the side benefits that result from the team building activities is it builds trust when they go through the different steps, through the initial conversations, to the building, to the final accomplishment that the group did together as a team. What we know for a fact is the teams that are having fun with the process, the ones that are happier, usually succeed and do better. And so to accomplish this, I encourage you as a faculty member to walk around to the tables as they're going through the team building activity and comment, engage with them, bring the humor, keep it light, and give them support as they go through to try and accomplish their goal. We're going to look at the first activity that I've brought up today, and in this event, what we're going to need is it's a bag of large Lego style blocks, and those are available in, at least in the US, in many large department stores, but I also want to say they're available on Amazon, and it's about $15. And that's just a photo of the blocks that I picked up. It has 80 pieces, and they are very large Lego style. So when we get our first activity going, what we're going to have you do prior to the event is you need, as the faculty, to go build a unique structure with the set of blocks. And you can see this is just a structure I put together. You want to make it unique so that it's not easily duplicated, and have this structure built and in an adjoining room so that the lions attending cannot see it at the same time. What we will do then as we go through, we want to divide the group into teams of 3 to 5 members, and each group will have their own bag of blocks still in the bag. Have them select a leader for their team, because at the end, the people will report back on how it went and the challenges they encountered going through the process. It's a timed event, and the task assigned to them is to build an identical structure to the one that you built and is in the other room. The catch is only one member at a time from their team will be allowed to go to the other room and observe the structure. They can look at it for about 15 seconds, and you'll need an assistant or a second faculty person to time them and to observe them so that no one takes any photos. They cannot touch or move it or turn the item. When the first person is done looking, they return to start building and send in another member from their team to view it. And this continues so that all team members will have the opportunity to go look and participate and see it. After the time is up, the faculty decide which group structure was the closest to the example, and as you go to the different tables where structures were built, have the rest of the class go so that they observe it with you as their team leader reports on their structure. And then the faculty should give out a small prize, a certificate, or some recognition to whom they believe would be the winners who built the closest example. In this activity, we would discuss with the attendees some of the challenges, and I will talk more on that in just a minute as we when I have a summary. In closing, what we traditionally do is put the blocks back in the bag, and then we typically would donate them to child care centers for use by the children there. The second activity I would like to look at is it's a spaghetti building competition. You build a tower out of spaghetti, and to do this, what you're going to need is 20 sticks of uncooked spaghetti, a roll of masking tape, about 90 centimeters of string, and 1 marshmallow for each team. With these items, the assignment will be each team will go through and attempt to build the tallest spaghetti tower. The catch is the marshmallow has to be at the very top of the spaghetti tower, and the whole structure has to stand on its own with no support, no hands, no other thing supporting or holding it up for 5 seconds at the end. And truly, some of the towers, the spaghetti will break when they put on the marshmallow on top. Some of it won't. Some will last 5 seconds, and some will last a full minute or more. It's a timed activity. It usually runs about 10 minutes or so. After the time would be up, again, the faculty and the other competitors would go table to table to review what the teams have built, and the faculty would decide on the winner, of course, which would be the tallest tower, and award a recognition or some minor prize. So in these activities, they're designed so that the Lions can laugh, learn, and connect. Some of the discussion questions we would like was, how was a leader selected? How critical or important was communication with the team to accomplish the goal? Were the team flexible on how they accomplished the goal, or did they stick to the very first path they chose to do it? How were the decisions made once they were in the team? And these are just some of the things that you would review after the events with the activities. What would be some of the skills that we would learn or utilize during these events? Typically, I would say communication would be one of the most primary skills that would be utilized by the teams. Good communication relates well on how all the tasks would be accomplished. Planning is involved on how they wish to accomplish their goal. Problem solving, conflict resolution, it helps them talk through which way would be the best way to proceed with the event, and it fosters genuine connections between the team members, which is critical so your team feels like they as a group can accomplish their goal, and it builds trust. And that has come up several times on how all of these activities are designed to do this. What are some of the benefits? Is the networking. We all look to increase our social capital with our networks, and we find the other talents that Lions have and can assist and help us. It boosts the performance of a team when they feel comfortable and they trust the other players. They know that what their interests and likes are. We celebrate When I say celebrate, anytime your team accomplishes a goal or even several steps towards the successful completion, you want to celebrate. You need to have fun. Um, we're all volunteers, and when you're having fun, people perform better, they exceed expectations, and they look forward to getting together again. You foster team spirit. We look forward to the opportunity to get back together with our team to accomplish more. We have collaboration and fostering innovation. Teams that work together foster innovation. It develops trust, which we've touched base on, and friendly competition and bragging rights on who maybe built the best structure in either one of the events. Successful teams, usually they take a flexible approach. They have diverse skill sets within the group, and they had prior experience with the task. And the flexibility, the ability to change as they're moving along is critical to be successful. In summary, you have a team, you've accomplished the team building and did it right if there's laughter, a sense of excitement, and accomplishment. And there may be a few Instagram moments along the way. As a leader, it's a key for you to keep the excitement going. At meetings where you check on team projects, get your updates. At that time, celebrate the progress and successes that your team has done. And we keep the excitement going as a leader that we started with their team building activities. And with that, I would like to pass it on to our next panelist, Lion Robert Littlefield. Thank you.
Thank you, Lion Bruce, and thank you, Sangeeta and AP, for including me in this summary and wrap up for this presentation today. As we look at the messages that have been shared by John, Jema, and Bruce, we have a lot of great ideas and useful strategies that we can use as we build our teams at whatever level we're working, whether it be at the club or the district or in the community. But let's review some of the key concepts and takeaways that you can employ as you go forward in your team building activities. Lion John shared with us that adult learners are self-directed, they seek out experts, and they learn by doing. And because adult learners have different characteristics, we need to approach them differently. And adult learners use the experiences of each other and use those experiences to help them to better understand the process of whatever it is they're seeking to accomplish. So if I've had an experience and I'm involved in building a Lego tower, I will use my experiences and encourage another person to use theirs. And so we want to learn, we seek out experts, we learn by doing, and that active learning is very important. We need to use different strategies, and you've seen some different strategies today. These strategies help us to build the teams and to move forward to be successful. And as Lion John suggested, team building activities for adults need to have clear objectives, they need to convey knowledge, and they need to engage the participants. You have to get people involved. Participants want to be as involved as they can, and that's why they prefer activities, because they can do something. Everyone has different learning styles. Some people like to watch, some people like to listen, some people like to think, and some people like to do. But typically, in these kinds of activities that we've discussed today, we learn by doing because it helps us to integrate all those other learning styles. I might like to watch, so I'll watch, but I can participate at that level. I might like to listen to my colleagues and my peers, and so I'll listen, but then I can get involved. So whatever learning style we have as adults, when we come together in an activity, we can really benefit. icebreakers and energizers, activities that were shared by Lion Jama are very helpful in warming up the group so they get to know each other by increasing the energy of the group. And as Lion Jama talked about in the repeat activity, as it becomes more and more complicated to remember all of the things that are being shared, that helps to build the group, and it builds the team as they get involved in the memory and encouragement and support. Using physical activity, things like hooping it up, the hula hoops is very way to energize, build, use physical activity and laughter and to engage. You need to make sure that the participants can actually do something. And the benefits, of course, of these types of activities is that you develop a positive group atmosphere, and as Lion Jama said, you think outside the box or think outside the hula hoop. Very important, though, in the introduction of these kinds of activities is the need for you to plan. You need to make sure you do something that'll fit within the time limit. Don't use activities that go on and on and on, because that defeats the purpose of activity. You want to make sure it would be better to have several different activities rather than to have one longer activity. And adjusting to space. And whenever you're thinking about working with a group, you need to think, how much space do I have here? And anticipate how the activity is going to work in that space. Most important, I think, from what Lion Jama shared, is that not every activity is doable. It's not going to work for all groups. So really consider, who am I working with here? What kind of experiences have they had? Are they going to be able to do this within the time period to make sure that all will go well? So as we then get to the next presentation from Lion Bruce, he shared with you some team building activities that are characterized by honest engagement and interaction and making a connection. How can you not be involved with each other when you send a person out one at a time to look at a structure and to come back and share that perception and to try to build the tower? As he suggested, results from these kinds of activities are certainly the building of trust. And most important is making any activity an enjoyable experience. It must be fun, and you must celebrate success, because that way people will feel a sense of satisfaction. As you could tell throughout all the presentations today, if you're going to successfully use team building activities, there must be clear objectives. What are you trying to accomplish? And you need to be able to explain or demonstrate what you're trying to get your group to do in a clear way so they understand. The Lego activity that Lion Bruce shared is a good example of how the objective is to create an identical structure. The variable is you can only send one person in at a time to see what that structure looks like. So as each of those people come back and forth and convey knowledge, it engages everyone, because everyone has to rely on each other. And that is why that team activity works. We want to be able to, of course, to develop skills. That's why we use team building activities. We want people to bring their current level of skill to a higher level. And so if we want to promote networking and communication with each other, then we have to have an activity where they have to talk to each other. If we want them to improve their level of performance, then we need a team building activity where they have to create something like the spaghetti tower to be able to be successful. If we want to improve morale, then we need to create an activity where they're going to be successful and they can feel good about themselves. If we're trying to get people to work together and collaborate, then we need to have an activity where people have to be able to share and work together. Of course, one of the things that's going to happen is that you're going to to have people become more innovative. They're going to be thinking of ways that they can be successful. And of course, one thing that Lion Bruce added that is particularly helpful in team building activities is a good sense of competition, where it's friendly, where each group is trying to do the best they can, and when they're trying to compete against others, it adds a different dimension. It can add some fun to the mix, because of course we want every person to feel like they have improved their own performance, but it's also fun to be able to reward people and celebrate. And a Lion friend of mine has said to me, whenever you are successful at anything, take time to celebrate, because it will make people feel better about being part of your team and wanting to engage with you in the future. So as we get to the end of the prepared portion here, why is team building so important to Lion leaders? The first takeaway that I would suggest is that team building improves communication. If you look at most organizations or groups, you can, if they are having difficulties with whatever it is they're facing, it is usually because they are not effectively communicating with each other. That simple communication, face-to-face or through some kind of interaction, is key to success. And so team building helps people to see the value of communicating with each other openly, honestly, and sharing information. Each member is important in a team building activity. You can never have a team building activity where someone can not participate. And as was suggested by Lion Jema, even a person who has physical limitations can participate as a judge or a timer or be involved in some way. So that's why thinking about your group before you do your team activity can be so helpful, because you can make sure that everyone can play a part. A second reason why team building is so important to Lion leaders is because it demonstrates and fosters cooperation. You must listen. You must work with each other. You cannot take over in a group. If you take over in a group, that will be a good example of how you cannot have a team work effectively when one person is controlling it. We all have to work together. Now, one of the things, of course, that I would suggest after listening to the presentations this morning and from my own experiences is that as a trainer, as a leader who's trying to foster team building, a characteristic that can be very helpful is the ability to be flexible and to adapt. Because even if you have done as was suggested, to think through your activity, how is this going to transpire, what's going to happen? Humans are humans, and there are going to be variables. Things are going to happen, and something may occur during a group activity that would be even more beneficial to give an aha moment. See what happened there? That's how this can be a beneficial activity, or this is how, when we work together, we can foster more creativity or whatever. A third reason why team building is important to Lion leaders is team building builds trust. And we all know that we can do more together than any one individual can do by him or herself. And so we want teams to be able to trust each other, to know that they can count on each other. And in Lions clubs, we have to know that we're going to work together, that if we take on a responsibility and we're trying to accomplish a project, that we can all be counted on to do our part. So even in the activities, as you were listening, whoever is doing what part, we have to trust them that they will do what we plan to do. And finally, team building is important because when you work as a team, you have more fun. When everyone is moving forward in the same direction, you're going to accomplish great things. We never know what lies ahead of us, but we know that if we enjoy being in the company of each other, we're going to be stronger and better. I recently completed my study of why people join Lions clubs and why they stay in Lions clubs. And one of the reasons why people stay in Lions clubs is they do enjoy being with like-minded people, that in that environment they can have fun, and that social connection is very important. And so, you know, as ancient scholar once said, you can learn more about a person in an hour's worth of play than in a day of conversation. And that's really true, that when you're having fun together, you see the true character of an individual, and that true character can help to build a stronger club and a more satisfied group of lions. So we, the four of us today, have presented you with a broad look at what constitutes an adult learner, how icebreakers and team building activities can generate positive results, and then we've shared some takeaways. At this time, I believe we have an opportunity for some questions. And so I'm going to turn this back to our leaders, AP and Sangeeta, and ask if you will want to facilitate this part of the discussion.
Thank you so much, Robert. I think each one of you really did a marvelous presentation, and you have built it up and you have explained why it's important that we use activities when we do leadership training. So now is an opportunity for our listeners to ask questions, give suggestions, share ideas if they want to. All that you need to do is raise or click on the hand icon on your screen. And once we see the hand icon, we will unmute you, and then you can ask your question or give your suggestion. Your question could be directed to any one panelist, or you could leave it open and we would ask any of the panelists to ask something or to answer the question. So if you have something to say, something to share, something to ask, now is your time, and all that you need to do is click on the hand icon and we will unmute you.
We have attendees from different constitutional areas, but I still do not see anybody putting up their hand.
Probably you all did such a great presentation, told just exactly what was needed. But anyways, we are going to be unmuting a few and ask them if they would like to share their experiences.
I still do not see anybody putting up their hand, and this is pretty much unnatural because, or maybe this is one of those unique webinars where we haven't had individuals wanting to make comments or ask questions. That definitely is an indicator of the quality of the presentation. And we do have one individual put up the hand now, and that is Uma Maheshwari.
You are unmuted. You are muted from your own self. Please unmute yourself and speak. You have muted yourself. If you would unmute yourself, you can then speak. Uma Maheshwari. Okay, we'll move on. Even if you can't, if your audio does not work, all that you can do is you can also do something is type in your question in the question pane, and we will be able to then answer your question in case you can't have your audio set up. Uma Maheshwari, you are muted by yourself. Anyway, we'll move on. And as we see, no other hand raised. If
Pastor
any
Director
of the
Sangeeta.
panelists would like to share something else, please go ahead. John?
Pastor Director Sangeeta, I see that Lion Uma has shared the words "a video" in the questions panel. I'm wondering if this is both a comment of how videos could be used to kick off or be integrated into part of a team building activity, or if any of our panelists have utilized such multimedia to facilitate team building. So just wanted to address the fact that I think she's mentioning the use of video.
I think you are right. So if any of the panelists would like to take in, if you've used the videos, Bruce, would you like to take that?
I would be happy to. Depending upon the activities, videos can be very helpful. They have a multi-talented. They can motivate, they can inspire, they can give direction, they can give ideas. And so, depending upon your activity, if you find a video that is appropriate or helpful, yes, I would use it in a minute.
Okay. Anybody else would like to say? Yes, I think that's exactly what she wants to say. Video integrated into your presentation. So if there is anybody else who would like to chip in, Jema, you would like to share any of the
Well,
videos?
the only
that you
comment that I would make is make sure that everything works. Video is wonderful, and you could do real quick vignettes. You could actually video your presentations and have post them online to motivate other Lions to become a part of whatever it is you're doing. But sometimes technology has glitches, so even today we had a backup in case there was a problem. As the Lion leader, the person who's facilitating the presentation, you need to make sure that you have a backup system if a video isn't going to work. But be sure that don't not use a video because of that. Take the opportunity to use new technology, because we need to be a part of that new technology if we're going to move forward.
I agree. Sometimes I've seen presenters using too many videos. It's like one video after the other, and even that might be a little discouraging. We want to hear the presenter. It just should add to your to the presentation. It should not be the presentation. That's what I would like to add, is that should only enhance or maybe drive the point home that you're trying to get, rather than be a complete video only.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'd like to add that sometimes making a video can be a great team building activity. I have at some workshops, I've had them break into groups, and they had to create a skit of some kind to depict a topic. And then one of the members of the group has made a short video clip of the group doing its skit, and then those can be shown. So the process of actually working as a team to develop a script, to act it out, and to have someone record it, like on a cell phone or a video of some kind, that then can be posted or can be shared on the computer on the bigger screen, and people can enjoy each project and to see what they did. This takes a little bit of time, but it is a fun activity because they get to see themselves. Everybody has to be involved in some way. And if you have someone who is very shy and doesn't want to do it, but they can be the camera person, then you can find a place for everyone. But sometimes using videos as the team building activity, the creation of a short video clip, can be a fun way to build teams.
Okay, I see Clara Bianchi is there, who's raised her hand, and you're self-muted, Clara, and it's also said that you're being muted by an organizer, but I'm not being able to unmute you somehow. John, would you try and unmute Clara?
Yes, I will try. I'm also finding that it's saying that, but I'm not sure how she is.
We can make her a presenter. I can make her a presenter.
Okay. The only thing, I think AP is making her a presenter so that she might be able to do that.
She's already here. Come to 7. Come to 7. Staff. Come to staff.
Okay, Clara. Oh, you asked. Oh no, I'm not. There's some problem in the audio there.
You're self-muted. You need to unmute yourself, Clara. We've even transferred you to a presenter. I'm sorry, there are some technical issues there, and that didn't work. but then there are no other questions that can come in that I see are coming in, and I'm very sorry that there's a technical issue and Clara self-muted, but she could not unmute herself. So if any of the presenters have any additional comment to make, otherwise we will conclude this webinar very shortly. PID Robert Littlefield.
Oh. It somehow says that everybody has been muted. And
I'm back, but I'm seeing that Robert is self-muted, so I'm wondering if we as panelists need to go back.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
now I'm back. I'm back now. I'm back. I really appreciate the opportunity to participate today. It was kind of Past Director Sangeeta and Past Director AP to invite me, and I'm very honored to share the webinar with Lion John and Lion Jema and PID Bruce. It's been a great way for me to start my day here in Florida.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert, for joining in. Bruce, you would like to say something?
I would just like to again thank you for the opportunity to get together and have this training with everyone. And I wish you all a very good day.
Thank you so much. Jema.
I would just like to reiterate what everyone else has said. This is a great way to start our day. I'm in Illinois, so it's bright and early here. But I appreciate the time that both you, Sangeeta, and AP spend to bring such quality programming to Lions around the world. And the idea that we can all get together on a Wednesday in December to share these good ideas is really terrific. So I applaud you for that, and thank you for your time. And thank you for my panelists and joining everybody else. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful. And we've had a lot of comments from other attendees. And we like to thank each one of you, John, for agreeing to also take over whenever it was necessary, to Bruce, Robert, and Jema. Each one of you have been just wonderful. For the attendees, remember, this webinar will be available even for you to view later on. You could share it with your teams, your Lions, in your districts, in your clubs, and you could also visit the Eastern India Lions Leadership Academy, leadersacademy.org, for more resources, to view our previous webinars, and to suggest ideas, if you may, for future webinars that you would like to view. We will have the next series of webinars starting very soon from February onwards, once the holiday season is over, and we look forward to having you back for these webinars. Once again, thank you to our panelists, and it's time to sign off. It's nearing the closing time anyways, so it's been wonderful. The final word from you, PID AP.
So just wishing everybody all the best for a new year, season's greetings, vacations in different parts of the world, and this particular time is celebrated differently, but largely as a Christmas period. So greetings to everybody from our academy, and we will meet again on this virtual platform, and then maybe many more times personally at various meetings, forums, conventions in the future. With this, we sign off now from this webinar. Thank you very much for attending.